Early morning shooting. Early morning shooting. Love these early mornings. That's when you gotta get up actually if you want to do documentary work. You need to catch the best light. It doesn't really matter. I mean, going out in the right light conditions is always much better than doing it in some other point of time when you have shitty light. I always try to catch the right light. But now, not so much light on my face. I would probably have to add some type of light source, like so. If I would have a light pointing this direction, it would look much better. I would use the light that I have and then I would add a light source. I don't have that right now, so it becomes a little bit more moody. I think cinematic is a really misused word. Because cameras have become so good, there's not a DV or video versus film discussion anymore. All cameras are capable of producing filmic images. But that doesn't mean that it's cinematic. To me, it's quite funny how slow motion all of a sudden became cinematic. In the history of cinema, slow motion is vastly underrepresented because there wasn't any high-speed cameras. What I think made this happen was that the cinematic movements that has been known throughout the history of cinema, the slow dolly, the controlled pan shots, shots that demanded several people, cranes or tracks to be created. That same feeling of movement is what you get by using slow motion. But in the cinematic world, like the cinema, slow motion has for long been looked down upon. Now that's changed, because younger generations has little knowledge or experience of what a film camera really is, what the limitations in light sensitivity was like, or the lack of displays, or how heavy the shit was.
The all-seeing eye of the motion picture camera can document history, explore and reflect our culture and our times, record, create or synthesize art and life itself. Thus, the magic of the cinema lens gives to us a limitless power to teach, inform, activate, demonstrate, inspire, motivate, sell. But with this power, we must also assume a heavy responsibility.
When I shot on Super 16mm, we had a wagon of equipment for just the camera. Not a freaking backpack. Wagons! Imagine that. I hated it. So it's not like I want to go back to that. But it's good to freaking realize in order to stay on your toes and not get lazy. In a way, I think it's too easy today. People have the choice of selecting the auto mode, which is a lazy method of shooting things. Even look at these images. I use the auto mode, and of course the shit is off, because it can't focus in darkness. So I do it too. It's convenient. I get it. But it's not professional. I hate myself for using the function every time, because it always screws up. It's unpredictable as hell. A professional wouldn't use a tool like that. Any autofocus or auto tool to expose or anything is just shit. It doesn't make you better at your craft. A professional wants something that you can control and where you know what results you're getting. But I guess that was much more important when you couldn't see what the hell the camera exposed. So what does that have to do with lighting? Well, lighting is the start of creating anything cinematic. A cinematographer uses light to paint a world. Most of the time, people think it's the camera that should do the job, or that it's the grading that can save any lazy, hopeful wannabe cinematographer. Listen, you need to master the craft of lighting before even calling yourself a cinematographer. That's 30% of what the job is about. Operating a camera is maybe 5 to 10% of being a cinematographer. That's why you don't even operate a camera as a cinematographer in Hollywood. There's many theories as to how to light a cinematic look. If you look at Christopher Doyle, he's got a really colorful and personal style of lighting that's deeply inspired by his personal experiences of living in Asia. Then you have Roger Deakins, who's got deep knowledge of the history of cinema. You can see that in what he creates. There's so much tradition going into his images. And then there's Hoyte. He's a Swedish DOP that's a master, much like Deakins. He knows how to control every freaking part of an image. Every frame is perfection. To learn about light, analyze their films. That's the best way to learn, really. But they have huge resources. Now, Doyle didn't have that when he started making films. So much like you and I, that use natural light, he did that too. That's something that he has embedded in his style now. He often uses practicals to set a mood of his films, and the locations play a huge role in his cinematography. I'm gonna tell you a secret. If you want to do cinematic lighting, don't use the 3-point lighting. That's a shitty way of doing a cinematic scene. If you have this, you have a basic setup. You have nice light behind me. You add maybe one light source. A little bit from the side. Could be like so, maybe. I don't know. Or it could be just backlight somehow. Like you add one light source. Maybe you add 2. But you have one to set a certain character. You don't use a fill light. The fill light is what makes this side too bright and too, average, I'd say. So you add this source like this. You get a more like moody punch on this side. And then you have the perfect lighting behind because you're out in the right light conditions. This is a little bit too dark. And this would look a little bit weird, so I wouldn't go this far as to create a mood somehow. It's a bit scary. Anyway. If you have it this far away, it can be pretty hard to light a situation. So what I usually do is I boom stuff. I have a boom pole with a Westcott light with a diffuser. Looks perfect. You need a separate operator for that, because I wouldn't be able to do it while shooting this. That would just be weird. But you could put a tripod out there with a harsh light too. And the thing is, you need to have harsh light. Not, so that it looks lit, but you need a strong light. So often it's not enough to have a regular LED or something like that. You need big lights. And I don't have that right now. I just have this weird iPhone thing. But still, makes sense, maybe? I often want to base my light off of the natural surroundings. Then I just add character to create a controlled cinematic look. Often that means adding 1 or 2 lights. But it also is essential that you use the natural light sources or practicals that are available. Most people get this, but how do you use them to create a cinematic look?